There is a difference between a predator and a man-eater. Predators kill because that is what evolution designed them to do. They stalk, they ambush, they survive. But a man-eater is something else entirely. A man-eater develops a pattern, a strategy, a preference. It stops seeing humans as threats and begins seeing them as prey. And when that shift happens, the consequences can be catastrophic. Villages empty, construction stops, governments panic, hunters are summoned. Throughout history, there have been a handful of animals whose behavior crossed that line, whose repeated, calculated attacks on humans earned them names that still echo today. These are not myths, not exaggerations, not folklore passed down around campfires. These are documented cases of individual animals that hunted people, sometimes for years. And we begin with the deadliest of them all. The Champawat Tiger 436 confirmed victims in the late 1800s. In the foothills of the Himalayas, something began stalking the forests of Nepal. At first, it was dismissed as tragic coincidence. A missing shepherd, a woodcutter who never returned home, a woman gathering firewood who vanished without a trace. But as weeks turned into months and months into years, it became clear this was not random. A tigress had begun hunting humans. She would later be known as the Champawat Tiger. Before she was finally stopped, she killed 436 people, the highest confirmed number of human deaths ever attributed to a single wild animal. To understand how this happened, you have to understand the landscape. Northern India and Nepal at the turn of the 20th century were dense with forest, steep ravines, and small villages connected by narrow trails. People walked everywhere to gather water, to farm, to trade. And that meant long stretches of isolation. Perfect conditions for ambush. At first, she targeted individuals traveling alone. Then she became bolder. Witnesses reported hearing roars near village edges in broad daylight. Doors were slammed shut. Children were kept indoors. Fields went untended. Life slowed to a crawl. After more than 200 deaths, the Nepalese army attempted to intervene. They organized drives to push her out of the region. They failed to kill her, but they did drive her south across the border into India. And there, in the forest near Champawat, the attacks intensified. Entire communities were paralyzed by fear. People refused to leave their homes unless traveling in large groups. Still, she struck. She did not behave like a typical tiger. Tigers are ambush predators. They prefer stealth, distance, and retreat. This tigress seemed fearless. Eventually, a skilled tracker and hunter was brought in. For days he followed signs, pug marks in dust, claw marks on trees, disturbed foliage. Then came a turning point. A 16-year-old girl had been dragged from near her village. Her body was found partially consumed in the forest. The hunter followed the blood trail, through brush, across rocky terrain, into a clearing, and there he finally encountered her. The confrontation was brief. When it was over, the Champawat tiger lay dead. But the most important discovery came afterward. Upon examining her skull, it was clear something was wrong. One upper canine was broken completely in half. The corresponding lower canine was worn down to the gum. For a predator that relies on precision killing bites to suffocate prey, this kind of dental damage is devastating. A tiger must clamp onto the throat of deer or wild boar and hold tight while the prey struggles violently. Without intact fangs, that becomes nearly impossible. Deer can kick, boar can gore, antelope can outrun. Humans cannot. Soft tissue, slow reaction times, no natural weapons. The tigress had not chosen humans because she preferred them. She chose them because she could no longer survive hunting anything else. Injury forced adaptation. And adaptation turned her into history's deadliest man-eater. The pattern begins. This first case reveals something crucial. Most man-eaters are not born. They are made. Injury, old age, broken teeth, gunshot wounds. When a predator can no longer hunt natural prey effectively, it may seek easier alternatives. Humans are easier, but injury is not the only pathway. Because the next predator on our list had no broken teeth, no visible wounds, no obvious weakness. And yet, for 8 long years, it hunted people with chilling precision. The leopard of Rudraprayag, the predator that entered homes. If the Champawat tiger represented desperation born from injury, the next predator represents something far more unsettling: intelligence. Between 1918 and 1926, along a sacred pilgrimage route in the Himalayan foothills of northern India, a single male leopard began hunting humans. He would later be known as the Leopard of Rudraprayag. Officially, 125 people were recorded as victims. Unofficially, locals insist the number was far higher. And unlike the tigers before him, this leopard did something that shook entire communities to their core. He entered their homes. A region gripped by silence, the region of Rudraprayag was not remote wilderness. It was alive with movement. Pilgrims traveled to holy shrines. Villages lined narrow mountain paths. Families slept in mud-walled homes under thatched roofs. When the attacks began, they were dismissed as isolated tragedies. But soon a pattern emerged. Always at night. Always silent. A door pushed inward. A section of wall torn apart. A person dragged from their bed while others slept just feet away. Imagine that. Not being hunted in the forest, but being hunted in your own home. The psychological impact was immense. Entire villages went quiet after sunset. No one walked outside. Families slept huddled together in fear. Yet still he struck. Authorities tried everything. Poisoned carcasses, iron traps, armed patrols, military escorts. Nothing worked. The leopard seemed to anticipate every move. He avoided traps, ignored poison bait, slipped past armed men in darkness. Leopards are solitary hunters, intelligent, adaptable, and highly observant. This individual was operating at an exceptional level. Eventually, the same experienced hunter who had taken down the Champawat tiger was called once more. He later described this leopard as the most elusive and intelligent adversary he had ever faced. For 10 weeks, he tracked the animal through steep mountain terrain. He waited in trees overnight. He followed cold trails. He endured freezing conditions. And finally, in May of 1926, he shot the leopard. After 8 years of terror, the mystery, unlike the tigress, this leopard showed no signs of injury. His teeth were intact. His body was strong. He was in prime condition. So why did he hunt humans? The answer may lie not in biology, but in history. The influenza theory in 1918, the Spanish influenza pandemic swept across India. Entire villages were devastated. So many people died that proper burial became impossible in some areas. Bodies were left exposed in forests and along riverbanks. For scavengers and opportunistic predators, this was unprecedented. A young leopard, curious, adaptable, opportunistic, may have encountered human remains repeatedly during this time and learned something. Humans were edible. Once that association forms, it doesn't disappear. Even when proper burials resumed, even when the pandemic passed, the memory remained. This leopard may not have begun as a hunter of the living. He may have started as a scavenger of the dead, but eventually the line blurred, and he crossed it. Now we see the second major pathway toward becoming a man-eater. Not injury, learning. Predators are not mindless killers. They are problem solvers. If a new food source appears reliable, they remember it. They repeat what works. For 8 years, this leopard refined his technique. He did not rush. He did not panic. He adapted to human defenses. He exploited weaknesses. And for nearly a decade, he turned a spiritual pilgrimage route into a corridor of fear.